Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Kolapo Oni. My background is in both design and engineering, so it's been a mix of. It's kind of like it's kind of intertwined, to be very honest, because I feel like I've been doing both for the same period of time. But yeah, so let me get started. So so a brief intro about me. I like to say I make nice things and I take good pictures. Why I say I like make nice things is because I feel like constantly I'm always building things because like when I was doing this presentation I was kind of like going through things I've pretty much done from like the point in time where I feel like I started my engineering career or design career, and it feels like from that point in now it's just been like I've just been building different things. So I think that's like the perfect description of what I do, and I also like taking pictures. I like photography. So yeah, that's why I say I take great pictures too. To be honest, the photography is not professional photography. It's just like for me, like photography is a medium of expression for me. So like I take pictures for myself and like maybe sometimes just capturing beautiful moments as well. And mostly on my VSCO, and I think I post on Twitter and Instagram. Actually, I have a Twitter thread too. So yeah, so that's a pretty much overview. This entire presentation is actually about my design and engineering journey. So, and I said in black and white because it's kind of like it's a reflection of like everything from when I started till now. So it's like talking about things in retrospect. So yeah. So this is me when I was a kid. To be honest, they're mostly like pictures of me when I was a kid. I mean, obviously, and then this is my mom, this is my dad, and this is my mom again. Also, like, so I feel like who I am today, or like a bunch of things I've done, kind of like it's kind of like a part of it was also because of like a mix of both my parents, and what I'm saying is a mix of both my parents is because like so things I love today, like I watch. I'm going to get to that in the next slide, but like so things like I love documentaries. So I watch a lot of documentaries. I love things like architecture, so I watch a lot of architectural documentaries. I watch a lot of sport documentaries as well. Not necessarily because I like the sport. I don't follow any sport. I don't like football. Let me not say I don't like football, but I don't watch football. I don't watch F1, but I follow a lot of F1 documentaries as well because I think at the core of it, I'm always trying to understand what drives people. And I feel like at the core of everything, like we are kind of all the same. We are trying to express ourselves one way or the other. So like so that's why I like the documentaries sometimes, just to figure out like what's the drive, what drives these people. Do you get? And then I think growing up too, I like history a lot too. So my dad used to like a lot of history. Or he likes, not used to, he still likes history a lot. So like growing up, I was kind of like fascinated early on about like history and documentaries on the history. So that's why like I watch a lot of like documentaries related to history. And then my dad is also kind of like a curious person, so I think that rubbed off on me as well. So like I'm very curious. So if you're very close to me, man, I could ask you like 2,000 questions on something if I'm really interested in something. So like I think that kind of brought out my curious side. And then on the other side of like creativity, I think to an extent, indirectly my mom played a part in that because like I think growing up, like a lot of things like games, a lot of things like toys, a lot of things like things that generally like sparked like things that I would love to do or think about were like mostly from my mom. So like all the video games I would ever play were like my mom would just buy them for me, or all the toys I ever play with, or like comics or things I would just want to read were like mostly from my mom's side. So indirectly, that kind of like sparked up my creative journey as well. So it kind of like added to it. So that's why I say like my parents play a role indirectly or directly in mine. A bit directly, but I'll get to that later on too in my journey. So these are a bunch of these 4 pictures depict my interests. So I like photography. So the first picture was at Takwabi in 2021. So I took that picture of like a ship. I think her head is no more there. So like so I guess it was nice that I captured the last moment of that ship. This documentary is about Senna, it's in Senna, and I really love the documentary. It's like it was a Formula 1 driver, but like he died in early or mid 90s. I'm not sure, late 90s. I can't remember exactly, but like I like the documentary about him because it was also a good Formula 1 racer. But like why I particularly love the documentary was also like it's kind of like he showed like details of his life and like why he loved the sport and like why he loved the sport and things that propelled him. I also really like the one of Fangio as well, so I really like those documentaries. I watch a lot of architectural documentaries as well, and like I follow quite a few architects. To be honest, I wouldn't say I'm an architectural fanatic, but like I follow a few of them I love. And like Zaha Hadid is one person I love, and why I love Zaha Hadid is because she kind of like, at the point in her career where people thought things were not doable, she kind of did a couple of things and like she would just shock people. And people say, oh, you know what, you can't build this kind of stuff. But she would go ahead to shock people and like create these kind of structures that people thought were impossible. So for her, I think it's also inspiring to see that she was pushing the boundaries as to what's achievable in like in the field of architecture. So I kind of found that interesting. Another person in that space would be Tadao Ando, because for me, he had an informal education in architecture, and like he went on to become like one of the best architects coming out from Japan. So like it was really interesting to see too. So yeah, that's on the side of architecture and documentaries. And for me, I love music a lot. So if you're close to me, you know that I really enjoy music, man. I love music. I don't think I have a specific type of music. Maybe before, early on, maybe like I think I'm at the phase in my life where I don't explore too much as well, but I still love music. I just love it for the listening point. There was a point in my life where it was a lot of exploration and figuring out new music. And this is a Take Care record. So I started collecting vinyl records for like, I think it's about 2 years now. It's just something that I love, and it's just nice to listen to like records on vinyl as well. So this is like, the Take Care album is actually a record I really love. So that's why I put that here as well. And photograph, so these are a couple more pictures I've taken. This is the same one, the same ship, but in black and white. This other one was like, I think I took this in Lisbon in 2019, so it was just, there was this building, and like, I call the picture spaces because it kind of like had this abstract representation of like forms. I don't know how to explain that, but like, yeah. So I call these spaces. This was at Takwa Bay too, so I took this other picture at Takwa Bay, and this is just the colored picture. Same here as well, so that's the end. That's the cut out part from the former slide. I took this in Abidjan in January because I just liked the building. It was quite colorful. This other one was in Ghana last year, and then this one was in Rome in 2019 as well. I just really liked the building. So, so very random too. Like, so sometimes when I take pictures, some of them are kind of expressive for me in a way. So like these other ones are kind of like they kind of hold deeper meanings for me. I'm not saying that because it's in black and white, because people always think that once the picture is in black and white, it's kind of like deep, but like they kind of have deeper meanings for me. And then these ones are just like for the mere purpose of capturing the beautiful moments. And also very random, I've been talking about doing like a photography exhibition since forever, so it's something I'm looking forward to do like in the nearest future. For this aspect, so like I would say like my entire design and development journey can be like started from like this is a timeline of my entire design and development journey. So I started from mobile applications development. I think that was where I like to like pinpoint it to where my journey started from, and then it went to games, which I really love and did for a while. And I did a bit of 3D modeling. I never got good at it, so I think I did like 2 models, and I learned a bit. And the only reason why I was learning it then was also because I was doing games, so I was trying to like make models for my games. And I did a bit of like virtual reality and augmented reality, and then web design and front-end engineering, which is like where I'm fully the space I'm fully in at the moment. So yes, exactly. So Scribbler. why I'm laughing is because the name Scribbler is actually like at the point in 2013, I think there were a lot of like cool applications coming out, and all of them that just had the ending with the la. So you hear Tumblr, you hear there were a lot of applications just having that kind of name. So like I just felt like, you know what, it was a cool name that time. So the story of this application is very funny. So there was this MTN competition, and like and then they said they were trying to launch an app store, and then they wanted people to build applications for them. And then there was this thing where like I think it was a 3 months window, and you had to build an app and launch on their store. I mean, if they did that kind of thing, I'll probably not do it, but I did it then because I thought like, hey, you know what? I was young. I was like, I was learning. I was like, it was really nice for me. But on the flip side for them, they were just trying to like get people to put a lot of applications in their store. So like this was my entry into the competition. It's pretty much a note-taking app. When I was preparing this slide, I found this randomly on the internet. I think someone had uploaded it on another Android platform. So that's where I took pictures of the app I built, which is so funny because it's like I don't even have like a picture of what I built, and I'm just seeing someone randomly upload it somewhere. So, but cheers to the person that uploaded it there because he helped me like put it in presentation. So it was a note-taking app. I like to pinpoint it as my beginning journey, like software development or design. It was also an application I spent like 3 months of my life pretty much doing. And when I mean 3 months, literally 3 months, man, because I'll wake up in the morning, start working on it, run into issues. It was kind of like a daily routine for me. Like, I think after 3 months, you know that kind of thing when you're looking at the screen for so long and the light goes off, you're just like, you're first dazed. So after 3 months, I kind of like did not know what to first do for myself, for my life. Like, okay, there's a void now. And I think maybe that's what led me to my building spree, who knows. But yeah, so I built it, and I had my friend in Unity, okay, catch it's quiet. So we're doing it at the same time. He built an app as well. I did not win the competition. And the people that even won the competition were like, they built this app for, I'm trying to remember the name, but it was something legal related. And then it was not even a new application. So I just like, you know what, I was just like, MTN actually outsmarted us in that space, man, because they knew that a lot of people would jump on it. And then, but even though I didn't know when, it was a good learning experience for me. So I think at that point I was writing a bit of Java. So like, it was a good learning experience that, I built something and like, I launched it and I pushed it out, and it was cool then. You know, I just goes out, and I was using an Android phone then, so I was like, you know what, I'm using an application I built, so it wasn't bad. And then this was the second application I built, and then this was still in the early period as well. So I called it Hold. Hold is kind of like it's an application where I built to categorize like different things I wanted to do on my ideas. So pretty much how it is. So like maybe movies and TV series I wanted to watch and I don't want to forget, I'll categorize them. I'll save them in that category. Things like songs I wanted to listen to, I'll save them there. Books I wanted to read, art galleries I wanted to visit, cafes, bars. To be honest, it's not like I was going to, I don't think there are even bars in Lagos like that, but category is there. But like, so I was just saving all those things. I wanted to categorize all my interests and things I love in a single place. And I don't think I ever pushed this to the apps. I had a Google Play Store account. I'm not sure I pushed to the Play Store because I got all these pictures from someone that uploaded all the applications I built somewhere. And then, so to the right is how, when you open each category, you just see everything here to the right. So the Kite Runner, Think and Grow Rich, the Gold Flinch. I mean, Kite Runner is also one of a really nice book, man. Like, I don't think anybody that's read it will probably always remember the book. So that's the story of Hold, and that was in 2014. And then, so there's a funny story here. This is a game, but like everybody knows the popular Flappy Bird game. So like I was building a clone of the game. But now there's a funny background story. So I studied computer science in school, and then but computer science was not necessarily what I wanted to study initially. You know, I wanted to study medicine. So I was in SS3, and then I can't remember the exact exam I was writing in WAEC, and my dad comes to school and tells me, although he's been saying it for a while, I think you should do computer science, but I was not really interested in computer science. I just wanted to study medicine, man. I like the idea of just like, you know, operate. Now that I'm thinking about it, it sounds dumb, but like I like the idea of like going to the surgical theater, wearing my white gown, and just like operating people, and like it felt reputable. So like my head from like when I was young, it was like, man, I want to be a surgeon. And then I got to that point, and my dad had been saying it for a while that, I think you study computer science, but I was never really interested in the idea of, you know, going into computer science. And it came one time, and I was like, I think it was close to my exam. I was like, this is why you should study computer science. So I kind of like, okay, I agreed. Okay, you know what? And it was SS3, so I was like, just right before my exam. So I was even thinking during the exam that why am I even choosing to study computer science? I mean, I don't have any regrets today, but like, and I think the thing that made me agree to study computer science was like, I used to play video games, and like, going back to why I said my mom shaped my journey a bit is because like, I used to play video games a lot, and I like the idea of like, and I used to be fascinated by how people used to build these games, because I used to be like, man, I used to check up a lot of studios that how are they building these things, man, like, because it's crazy. I think it takes a lot of time to actually build these things. So I was like, you know, maybe computer science is not bad, man. I'll get to build games someday, and like, that's not a bad thing, and I love games. So this was my first time going into game development. There was a popping game then, Flappy Bird. I don't know if anyone remembers it, but like, it was really popping. So I was trying to learn, and then I'd done a lot of research that, what are the best tools to learn to make games? I came across Unity, which is a game engine why I liked Unity was because it appealed to like solo people. So like not just big studios. So if you're like someone like me that has no budget, it's just like a single individual, it's like, okay, the idea of the engine appeals to me, and I can use the engine to build a game. And then I always do this thing where like when I'm learning something new, rather than just like rather than learning the small components. So I do this thing where the first few weeks I learn the small components, but I also like to have something in mind to build because I believe like the best way to learn is by actually getting your hands dirty. So I was like, okay, what can I build? The game was popular. I was like, okay, you know what? Let me make a clone of this game to like also learn how to build games and also like build something with doing my learning process. And then at this point, because I had done a bit of mobile applications development, the language I was using going to write games in was similar. It was C# with Unity, so it was similar to Java. So I was like, it can't be that bad. So I went ahead. Then I didn't do the graphic design work, so I went online and I was like, I think I was just Googling things, and I saw someone that like dropped all the assets online, the bed, the backgrounds, and he said he was trying to build a clone and he was trying to submit it to the Google Play Store. But I think it was at the point where Google Play Store had the person that made the game started getting some threats or something funny, and then like Google Play Store started taking down clones from the store. Started like even the person that made the game took the game he made, took it out of Play Store because he said it was getting too much buzz. So they took out a lot of the clones, and then the guy just put the assets online. It's like anybody that wants to like do something with it, man, here you go, like just go and build something. So I was like, I'm on no wala, man. Since I don't, I can't design any of this. So I took everything. To be honest, that was like the happiest day of my life, because I just took everything and I went and I was like, I started building. It took me about a month because it was very iterative. So, and then I had a brother there, so my brother actually used to playtest everything for me. So it took me about a month, but like, I finally made it and I went to school and I was showing my friends. I'm like, they're like, I think it was on holiday, and I was like, bro, like, how do you just go on holiday and come back and you're now making games? So this also I use it to pinpoint the start or the beginning point of my game design career, yeah, because it actually spanned for a short while. But yes, I made the games. Like I also tried what the guy tried. I tried to put it on the Google Play Store, but they bounced me. They refused, as expected. But I found another store to put it on, but it was not. You can't get a lot of buzz. But to be honest, like I feel like at this point, most times I was making things not necessarily for people yet. It was just like because I was building my things, and I just felt good. Like okay, I'm building my own thing. I'm using what I built. So I played it a lot, man. I played this game a lot, and then I think. And then this was left or right. This was also a clone of something. So someone did this. It was on the web. So someone had built something on the web, and this was just like a mobile version I did to like a mobile version. But it was a recreation of the idea of someone had done on the web. It was left or right. So pretty much you swipe in the direction the text indicates, and then you have like a 30 seconds window, and then you just keep swiping, and then. At this point, I think this was my first time also using like Google Play leaderboard. So I'd integrated Google Play leaderboard. So I was actually surprised that a few people were playing it. So I would go to the leaderboard and see people's names pop up and like, oh, people were actually playing and swiping for 30 seconds to be top on the leaderboard. So it was like, I think this was the first point in time I was actually seeing real people. Not real, not people that I'm using for were real people, but like just seeing people that I don't know now. Like it's one thing for me to see my friends or like people I know say, oh, okay, you have it on your phone, and you're like, you know, you have it because I'm your guy. But like this one is different, where like people are actually playing what you built. So I kind of like found it interesting. Like just random people that you don't even know, and you just see them on the leaderboard. And then, so this is Pong, which I did in 2017. So the idea of Pong was a bit. At this point, I was there was a point in time I started like, you know, doing a bit more like web explorations, and then because the problem with these other ones, like prior to the Pong moment, like these other ones are built, you needed to download the application. So it's not necessarily accessible to people. You have to first download an application to even like use it. Unlike when you have something on the web that anybody can just go to the URL and visit. So I started a bit of web explorations, and I think I was building this, and then what even inspired this project? I was doing something, I think it was a holiday. My brother was on holiday, and my brother then I started learning how to produce music. And then I was like, you know what, I have this idea in my head to do a project. And I think you can make the sound for this project. And it was like a win-win for both of us, because it's like, okay, you know what, I'm producing music and my name will appear in the credits of this. And I was like, okay, you know what, I get to build a game so that I can play, or whoever can play. So like it was like a collaborative project between my brother and I. I was just like, he worked on the music side. Sadly, there's no sound player, but like he worked on the music for this, and I built this, and this was also my first time ever building something for the web. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's a single player thing. It's a single player thing. Although, like most feedback I would get from people is that they wanted to be multiplayer, so you can play with any random place, but it's a single player thing. So I think that's pretty much it for here. And then, yes, and then this is Bluebird AR. This one was, so at this point I was experimenting with augmented reality. It's crazy that it doesn't feel so long because this was in 2017, which is literally like 7 years ago. But I remember when I took this video. So it was a marker-based augmented reality experiment, and then I had this random $1 bill, so I just used it as a marker for. I can't remember I got the $1 bill. It was just random, but I just used it as a marker for the experiment because the experiments then required you to required a marker to start the augmented reality. So you can't. It requires something to be present for you to trigger the AR experience. So I used it, and then it was pretty much this bird flying around, popping balloons. And I think I was learning, I can't remember what exactly I was learning them, because most times when I'm working on these projects, I'm learning something, I'm just trying to like perfect it or like, and then build something based on like the knowledge I've acquired. I can't remember exactly what I was learning, but I think I was playing with the idea of like polygons, because the balloons are like made of like 3D polygons, and I was trying to come up with the idea of like how this can be, something about meshes. I can't remember the full thing, but it was about meshes and like, and then there was a point where I was doing a lot of experiments with augmented reality. I had this Google Cardboard as well. I think then Google just released this Google Cardboard Live for virtual reality as well, and I had a friend that gave me one because she used to work at Google Nigeria, so she gave me a random Google Cardboard. So I was like, okay, you know what? I just started building stuff for it, and also prior to now, like most of the stuff I've been doing, I know you probably wonder, like, why does this guy have enough time on his hands to just be doing stuff like that? Most of what I've done before now I was just freshly out of school, but most of the stuff I've done before now was mostly, I was in school, so it's just like, okay, schoolwork, and I would just be building stuff on the side. So I mostly just built them in school, and then, and then there was this. I also did one of like a guy dancing on a table, but I couldn't find that video. And then this was beautiful experiences. So like I feel like this is where like this is where I started to get into like web design fully, or like front-end engineering as well. So at this point, I used to discover a lot of interesting work that other people were doing on the internet, and I think I was very fascinated by what people were doing because like before I got into web design, I don't think I used to do a lot of research or just check like a lot of things people are building on the web. And at this point, I started seeing a couple of random things people were doing. I was checking awards. I was checking. Awards was one of the major sites I used to like see a lot of things. And just randomly, I'm not sure Muesli was on at this point, but like I used to just see a lot of things people were doing, and I was like, how are people building these things, man? Because they were actually crazy to me then. And I did not have so much experience in the front-end engineering space or the web design space at that point. So I was like just seeing a lot of work people were doing, and I was like, okay, you know what? I really like the work people were doing. And I felt like there were a few people too that were also fascinated by like the idea of like what other people were building. And then to me, I was like, okay, you know what? I want to curate these things, but I don't know how I'm going to like create it where like people can just come and find interesting work. Whether the idea of it was just to like inspire people when you're working on something. So you're building a project, you're trying to do whatever project on the web, and you want to be inspired by other people's work. Just come here and like you see a couple of projects that could inspire you, even though it's just one. And I call it beautiful experiences because like as the name implies, it's just a creation of like beautiful experiences on the web, that things people have built or things people have done. And at that time, so I was experimenting a bit with WebGL. So I was like, okay, you know what? That's where I can put with what I was trying to do. I can merge it into like this idea and actually build this. So it's an interactive experience I built to create really interesting projects to score on the internet. It actually didn't scale because the idea was that like every 2 weeks, there will be 10 projects, and I'll update them every 2 weeks or a month, or take out some and put new ones. So like people coming to the website and not just seeing the same thing every time. So it's like it's kind of like what Muesli is today, where you just go every day on Muesli and you see different stuff. But I thought I would have the time, but to be honest, sometimes you start these projects and you think that, oh shit, I will take the energy from beginning to end, and like you won't pull through. I don't know, that happens a lot. But the problem is that as human beings, I'll probably start something tomorrow and think that, oh, you know what, I have the energy to carry it for like 6 years, and in the first week, I'll just, that happens. But the good part about it was that I actually pushed it live. So I was like, okay, you know what, that's a good thing. And I figured out a way to also like curate these things. So I have a thread on Twitter now. I don't update as often as I used to do in the beginning, but like the thread has been running for a couple of years now, where I just like anything I find that is interesting on the internet, I'll just post it in that thread. So like, so I feel like if I had not done this, I would not have come up with the idea of just putting in that thread. And it's always nice when every once in a while where someone reaches out to me and says, oh, you know what, check out this thread that Kolapo puts, this random Twitter thread where Kolapo adds interesting projects to, or like, oh, I like this thread, or like I meet someone like, oh, thanks to you for that thread, man. I always find a lot of interesting projects there, because when I started the thread, the idea was just for myself to come back like from time to time when I want to work on projects to find like to draw inspiration for my projects. That was the idea for me, because like sometimes you see a lot of things, and when you're trying to do something, and I'm like, oh, I've seen something a while back that can help me with this idea. So I was kind of happy that also like other people started like pulling inspiration from the thread. But yeah, so this kind of like gave birth to the thread, literally. And then this is fading. For me, so fading is a really interesting project for me. To be honest, I still think it's my best work of my entire life, to be honest, till date. Because I intend to live old, so let me not say of my entire life. But like, it's my best work till date. And fading was a game I made for 2 years, so from 2015 to 2017. I started while I was still in school, and then like it extended a bit to just when I was done with school. So the idea of fading was that at this point I was very much interested in. I liked game design, and I also liked storytelling through games. When I say I like storytelling through games, I'm kind of a person that is always looking for different ways to express myself. So like I felt like, okay, if I was making a game, I could also like make it tell a story. I could do something expressive, and then that was and I felt like fading was like a medium to tell a story. So Fade is actually kind of like a sad game, to be honest. It's a 2D game where like you're playing through the mind of a man whose wife is dying of cancer. So like you're going through these different stages of grief from anger, depression, hope, confusion, and like all those kind of things. You're going through all these chapters, and then you get to play like this little ball in someone's mind. So it's an abstract representation of the human mind. So that was kind of like what fading was about. But before I go deep into fading, a bit of background story. So so this was the point where like I said, this was the point where like I wanted to make a game that tells stories. I wanted to make something that people could emotionally resonate with. And then I was also playing, at that point, I'd played some like mobile games like Monument Valley. And for me, Monument Valley was the first game I ever played that it felt a bit different. It was not just like a regular game. It was also like, it felt like an experience. Until date, I consider Monument Valley one of like the best Apple games or like experiences I've ever had, because it was not really a game, anybody could play it. Even people that feel like they don't play games could play Monument Valley, because it was very different. And when I saw what they made, because I'd also been thinking about how to tell a story through a game, I was like, okay, you know what? They were able to build these nice things. Although it was a sub-game studio and us too, and a design agency, us too, in the UK. So I used to follow them a lot. And then I first started with this called, the name of the game was called Tales. But the problem with this is that I did not fully know what I wanted to build at this point. I knew I wanted to build a game, and it was supposed to be like a game called Tales, and like you're following this guy's journey. This guy that is made of a triangle. You're following his journey. But I don't know exactly. I think I made it to a point where I stopped. But I'm saying the reason why I stopped is also because, which is like something that I've become wiser at now. At the point is that I'd not fully fleshed out what I wanted to do, and I'd never really had the clear sense of direction of where I was heading to. But it was a good starting point. So like I pretty much made most of the elements in the game with shapes. So like there are circles, there are triangles, there are lines. Everything is like pretty much everything is from simple shapes. And I got a lot of the icons from flattericons.com or something. Yeah. Cheers to Flutter icons, man. I've really been using them for a very long time. So like I said, I don't do any graphic design work or brand. So like I got all the icons for Flutter icons, and I started making it. But at some point, okay, let me go to the next one. So we started getting more difficult, also because I wanted to have like a consistent level of visual appeal. So like I wanted it to be very simple, but also something that is very beautiful. I wish I took a picture of Monument Valley and put in the slide before, so that you see what I mean by how Monument Valley felt different. So this led to fading, because I had to stop Tails because I felt at some point that there was no way I was going to be able to launch it because I had no clear direction. But it led to fading. And I would say why that led to fading was also because he had the same idea, the same simple concept of I can't be any brand person, I can't be any graphic designer, but just use simple shapes. And I think why I was also able to do this is also because prior to this moment, everything I've been doing is solo. So I come up with an idea, I have something to build, I'm able to just do it. I would just do it solo all through till I launch. But with games, it felt a bit different because sometimes you need other things from other people as well. So I started fading. These are early sketches. I think it was a day, and I had the idea to just make a game that tells a story. And these were the initial sketches for my idea in my head. And then the idea of the game was that there will be, I think there were about 60 levels, and they're each split into 6 chapters. And then the chapters are each chapter, at the end of each level, you get to see a snippet of the story. So you play a level and then there's continuation of the story. So I didn't capture that in that slide, but there are just short words of from the point where the guy met his wife to when they got married to the point where she became sick. You're just as you're playing the game, you're kind of getting bits and bits into the story. So you're just following the story all through these levels. And then, this was this is a sketch, and this is the final idea at the bottom. So I actually used to draw I had a book. Very, very random. I forgot about the book until when I was doing this presentation. I've had a book since 2015, so it's 9 years I've had the book for, but I haven't used the book ever since I launched Fading. So I was just checking somewhere in the house, and I saw the book, and I was like, oh, that's actually crazy, and I saw the sketches. So I took the sketches from the book, and so these were some of the levels in the game. Some of them represented. So water was the water simulation was the coolest part for me because I didn't necessarily know how to simulate water in the game, but I learned. I saw someone do something online. I was like, okay, I learned it. And then these were just different levels in the game as well. And then I will show you the trailer as well. It's a very short the launch trailer when I launched the game. But sadly, there's no sound. The sound is really cool, but I couldn't get the sound to work. So this was the launch trailer. So it's just and it's a very tiny ball. But I think the most questions I used to ask when I show people is people used to be excited about the game when I first launched it or when I tell people about it because everybody's think of Pong. What's that Nokia phone? Bounce, yeah, Bounce. Everybody's think of Bounce, and initially I used to fight it. I'm not making Bounce, man. But at some point I was I can't fight off everybody anymore. Everybody just they would just get excited. Oh my God, you're making Bounce now on this. And I was you know what? Maybe that's a good thing too because people like nostalgia. So, but I wasn't making Bounce, but it just felt like Bounce, to be honest, because of the red ball. And so it's I think the trailer should pretty much be almost done. So these are the different levels in the person's mind. So you're going through, like I said, it was just a representation of the human mind. And we just shapes. And then I think this was confusion, so I just turned the whole screen. I turned it upside down, so people feel as if when I'm confused, things are upside down. So, I think this. I wanted to play it to the end. I think it should almost be done now. Oh yeah, so this is pretty much the end, and also the funny part was that because it was a very low budget. Let me not even say low budget. There's actually no budget. I can't even say low budget. Low budget means you still have some money, man. There was actually no budget, so I had to do everything myself. I recorded this in quick time, joined videos to make it seem like a launch trailer, and I pretty much had to do everything myself. Then I was not even doing web design yet, so I had my friend Kachi build my website for me, and then and it was really nice. And then these 2 reviews are reviews I really love. One of them is from Tade. So I think when he launched, Tade was guys, I just played this. And then prior to this point, I just used to post a lot of screenshots of every Saturday. I just used to share my work in progress. And I think people started it first started early on when nobody was noticing. And at some point, people just started realizing, okay, there's this Kolapo guy making this game called Fading. And people just started on Saturdays, people started anticipating that, just new progress on what you're building. So I used to post screenshots. So when it launched, Tade put this. And it's nice. And I was okay, you know what, that's one review I really love. But this other review to the right is like, why I really like this one is because, first of all, like I said, this is like someone I don't know personally. And then last year, I had not checked because the game is paid and it's on Steam, so I had not checked it for a minute. And I think Steam sent me an email randomly and said, we've been trying to pay you some money, and like I think something had expired, or I was supposed to update a legal document, and like we've not been, and to be honest, I haven't been checking for a while, and I realized that they've been sending me mails for like almost 2 years saying, bro, we want to pay your money. I was like, why would I be stalling on dollars, man? So I'm like, I went to Steam and I was trying to sort that, and I realized that someone dropped a comment last year, and I'm like, I didn't think that someone was still downloading the game because this is 2023, 6 years after I launched. And when the person dropped this comment, it kind of like made me feel warm because I was like, the real reason why I made this game was for this. And if someone could if someone could like feel the same thing or the message I was trying to pass across, that's a nice thing. And I've literally had no verbal or conversation with this person. I don't know who the person is. But yeah, so that's the end of Fading. Like I said, I still consider one of my best projects to date because it was also a bit tiring at some point because I was working with it for 2 years. So at some point I was demotivated, but like I also had some. I think at some point I had a publisher that kind of like pulled out too because I wasn't thinking about marketing early on, but I'll still get to that. And then so for me, I think the biggest challenges I had while making Fading was that first of all there was no budget. But the good thing about it is that I feel like the lack, I shouldn't put as lack of budget, to be honest, made me a bit more creative because I was able to think about new ways to build out my idea without anything. Everything you can see in the game is pretty much simple shapes. So like all the spikes are like triangles that I join together. All the squares are like boxes, and then I make the same color of the background, the same color on the front. So it's just like design hack. And then I was a sole designer and developer, so that was that thing too. So everything, I kind of like started it from the beginning. I was designing and also like designing the UI, designing everything, and also building it myself. I also wrote the copy myself. So like when I started, that was kind of interesting. So I think what made me confident in writing the copy is because, like I had a past life where I used to write a lot, which is crazy. I don't really write anymore. I don't really write much anymore, but like not even much anymore. I don't write at all, to be honest. But like I used to write a lot at some point, and mostly I don't necessarily know what to categorize my writing as because it was just mostly like what was going through my mind. So I would just document it. I used to do it on WordPress, and at some point I did a bit of poetry, which is actually crazy. Not crazy, but like yeah, I did a bit of poetry. So like when I said I was trying to do a photography exhibition, it's also because I was trying to merge it with poetry. So like a bunch of pictures that I feel are expressive, I merge it with like poems as well that kind of make it like have deeper meanings. But yeah, I was a sole writer on it, so I wrote everything from beginning to end. I underestimated the time, so initially I thought it would take like, I think I thought it would take like a month, at most 2 months to build the entire game. So when I started building, I realized that, and I also think because it was not a domain, I had so much. That was the first time I was building like a game that I wanted to sell, sell publicly and people to buy. So I had no much experience in how that works. So I see it online where people like, oh, be working on games for 5 years, and I'm like, why are you working on a game for 5? What do you mean you're working on a game for 5, 6 years? But like, I think this one opened my eye, man, because it was actually crazy. It took me 2 years, 2015 December to 2017 December, so I underestimated the time. I also got a publisher late, and I ran into an issue where like my publisher had to like change their focus. So like so they kind of dropped me towards the end, and I was like, shit, man, I'm back on my own. And then, but major highlights, to be honest, going live. The exclamation mark is more like a tired because I was like, finally, man, I've gone live. So it's not really yay. It was just like, I've pushed this thing out of the way. And then I made some revenue. It was not substantial, but it was nice to like build something and make some money from it. I think the first few months, maybe first 2-3 months, I was making like, every once in a while, I was like, okay, some dollars came in. I was like, that's nice. So I made some revenue, and like the reviews were really nice. So I was like, I think it was kind of a form of gratification for myself to see like the reviews people dropped and how they enjoyed it. And not also because of how they enjoyed it. When people were dropping reviews and how they could resonate with it, I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I was able to tell a story. Because for me, Fading also felt like I'm writing a book. And why I say like I'm writing a book is because sometimes when you read books, you're trying to like you're just reading you're reading to kind of fully capture what the writer is trying to express or how they're trying to express themselves. So so it felt like that for me. And I think something that I learned on this project too, which is crazy, and then it taught me a lot today, is that when you're building something you want to sell, or when you're building a product or you have an idea you want to sell, people forget how important marketing is from the early on. So and I also think because I came from a design and engineering background, it's very easy to just feel as I'll just build this into the end and push it out now. But it doesn't always work like that. So from early on, I think the mistake I made is that you should actually think about marketing, or at the very least, how you intend to push your any product you tend to monetize. Not even only monetize, even things you want to push out to reach a huge audience. You should start thinking about it early on. So I guess I learned on the project, man, because initially I was thinking it would just be a thing of, hey, you know what, I'm done, and the whole world is there's this guy that made something cool, but man, nobody knows you, man. So it was nice. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, yeah, so now I've skipped some years. Now this is Flutter Wave design. Okay, so I didn't mention in my intro that I also I lead the web experience design at Flutter Wave. So this is 2021, and then it had been an ongoing thing for a while, on the team, on the design team, that wanted to build something that felt like our home on the internet, and a place where we could write our own stories and share our interests as a team. And then that's what Flutter design is about, pretty much. In the short description of it is our blog online, and in the more sweet talk way is it's our home on the internet, it's a place where we share our interests and all that stuff. It was a work of the entire design team, so it was a very collaborative effort. So this is why I also highlighted this project, is because this was one of the projects I worked on that wasn't necessarily solo. It was also a collaboration with multiple people. So it was an entire design team collaboration. I did a bit of design on the project, but most of my work was centered around the development of the website. So these are a few things. Like I said, I love this because it was a project of the entire team, and it was also something that brought us together. So the team is split into different sub-teams. So we have web, we have products, we have brand. And I feel this project brought all of us together to work on a single theme and commit to it. That was what led to the idea. And then the first video you're seeing there is pretty much the hero section, and then Nemi used to work at Flutter design, by the way. So she did a really cool thing, and she was like, oh, how do we introduce our articles in this kind of way with the sliding? So that was an expression. The second part was pretty much us, the team highlighting our values. So friendship, ownership, iteration, pretty much our team values. But we also wanted to make it playful. Another reason why we had done this was because we also felt most of the work we do is very serious, So this was a bit different for us, because our day-to-day work, our work is very, very serious, and we're either trying to firefight or do something or build something, or this. Everything is genuinely mostly centered around revenue, and this one was very different. It was just it was a very relaxed project, so it was different for us on the team. So while we were doing this, we had this idea of just having this page. I still think it's pretty cool, but it just highlights a bunch of things people on the team like. And then initially when we were thinking about it, we were thinking that what if people actually buzz us and say, why are you putting my stuff online? But so we are very careful to only put work that we saw publicly online, or Twitter, where someone has shared their work, and they will reference. We kind of reference them, and then when you click on the elements, or when you click on the image, why did I say element? When you click on the image, you can see the work of the person as well. Something else we were also doing was that we also wanted to make it very easy to manage. So it's not it's not it's stressful. To be honest, it's still a bit stressful, but it's not it's so stressful. So we're doing the thinking phase of the project, where we kind of contemplating a bunch of content management systems to use. So we came up with Contentful. Okay, we can just manage it here, and someone can just upload the articles, upload the pictures, and they will just reflect on the website. So that's pretty much for Flutter design. Another project, this is also one project I really love, was the Send app website. So Send app is pretty much like a remittance product that allows you to send money, from anywhere, send money to anyone and send money from anywhere. So why I like this project too also is because one of the reasons why I liked the first one. It was a team project. So this was bigger than design. Let me not say bigger than design team, but like it was a serious collaboration with design, engineering, product. It was like it felt like all of us were just all in one single project at the same time, trying to achieve this. And it was also very interesting it was very interesting because I love collaboration. So like it's always nice to like work with people where you see, because sometimes you can feel like your idea is so sufficient. And you work with other people and you realize that people challenge the way you think. But at this point, we were trying to do an overhaul of like a couple of things in Send, and I think also like at this point there was no unique identity or brand. Send did not have its own unique identity, did not have its brand. Those are kind of like things that led to the rebrand. Also wanted Send to have its own voice, and like something when you see something, you're able to identify what product this is. So like you see something, you're like, okay, this reminds me of Send. So that was one of the reasons we are trying to do the rebrand. Also, what was also funny about this project was that it was very, very iterative. I mean, I think a lot of things in web design is very iterative. So like you start out somewhere. Most times you start out with a rough idea, and you just keep iterating on it until like you get design is never a thing where like sometimes it's calm. On your first thing, you try something, and it's like, okay, you know what, this thing works. But mostly in web design space, it's iterative. It's like you're iterating on the idea till you land on something that, okay, you know what, this thing properly represents what we are trying to achieve. And I also think a lot of times why web design is also very iterative is also because there are a couple of things that make up like a very good web experience. And from things like the use of colors to like to typography to like even to how your content is layered on your site. So like if your messaging isn't right, or like people generally think that, okay, you know, something looks nice, something looks good visually, and something looks good, and like, you know what, that's a good design project, or that's a good web design project. And it's not really so, to be honest, because if someone comes on the site and they're not able to understand what your product or your website or whatever is about, then you don't necessarily achieve a good design with that. So like so it's always iterative, because sometimes you think, oh, this works well, and then you try some things and then you realize that it doesn't work as you intend. So these were some initial iterations. So we knew that for the rebrand, there were a couple of things. It was about sending and receiving money. We also knew that we wanted it to be very, at the very least, when you land on the hero, they should be sending money, receiving money, which kind of give birth to the two hands in the hero. And now, interesting story. So there had been a bunch of iterations on this thing. And like, web design is also funny sometimes, because you iterate and you just know that, you know, something is off, but sometimes you can't really place it. Sometimes you're able to place it and know that exactly, like, okay, you know what, messaging is wrong, or like something is wrong. But someone on the team, his name is Chooks, very great guy. So like once he figured out the hero direction, it kind of like sets precedence for the rest of the sites. And then these are some of the early iterations. So like that is the first hero, maybe not first, probably like our fifth or seventh hero that was tried. And there were like a couple of other things too. So I just put all of them here. So there was this send that put your money where your heart is, where we wanted it to feel, wanted that part to really resonate with users, because that was, put your money where your heart is one of the taglines of Send, and it felt like, okay, you know what, literally wanted it to just show like different videos that capture different moments that Send has made them happy, whether you're sending money to a loved one or to a relative, and like share it in that particular space. Yeah, but this was like early iterations. This was the first FAQs. This was also the final look. Like I said, once the hero direction for this Send was figured out, it kind of like set precedence for the rest of the page. But also, I think something we also noticed was that we are started with a very colorful background, but at some point we had to like take that out, because we also like wanted users to take actions on the page. And we figured out that we had someone, in as much as we wanted, the brand was very vibrant, we also did not want users to be confused, because there are about two actions you need to take on the page. Either you're scanning the QR code to launch on the App Store, you're actually sending money. And then you don't want to like distract users from that experience on its own. And then I still always like the idea of the two hands, because it's like it captures both the idea of like sending and receiving money with two hands, and there's also the send widget there where you can actually enter the amount and like actually carry out an action to like send money. So I think that was like a very good representation of like what send embodies in a single section. Yeah, this was some of the iterations. So this was the initial FAQs that we had done, and like I said, to be honest, at this point, I also felt like we had used the hands a lot, and I was like, okay, how better can we show FAQs in this section? I can't remember exactly how this came to be, but I was also thinking about a file system. So it was inspired by like the idea of like file system or like a record management system where like you're seeing physical files and you're skipping through the files. So like they're kind of like stacked in shelves or like vertically stacked, and like you're just going through them. So that was what like gave birth to the idea, and I was like, oh, you know what? It was really nice. So that was what kind of like inspired this FAQs direction we went with. Also, like most of my work was mixed on this as well. So on the design side, it was a mix, and there was also a mix on the development side. It was also a mix, but like the other engineer was also working. It had a lot of work on the application side. So like a lot of times I had to like most of the web on the web development side of the website, I had to also carry most of the responsibility. This was pretty much a representation of all the countries Send currently works in. So the initial point was just to show them like the names of the countries, but we also had another section that shows the full names of the countries. So we're just like, you know what, the brand is supposed to be a bit playful, so like why not just let people play around with tokens of like the countries where the app is supported. And then so that was something that was nice too. And then so for this was kind of like something that I think we had figured out every other thing, pretty much everything on the site, even to like we also had like a country page. We had figured out even things like the press pages and figured out every other thing, but there was just something missing at this point. So we had been thinking on the team like, okay, you know what? How can we represent? Put your money where your heart is, because we felt like that was like tagline. That was one of the taglines for Send, and it felt like there should be a point in the website, even though like every other point inside, people can relate to it from like a brand perspective, like okay, the colors, the messaging, the tone. But also, how can we make people relate to this section where it also feels warm? To be honest, I'm a fan of warm experiences. So like, if you give me something like this, man, I really love doing things like so. Like, how can we do something like so? That was the initial idea to the left, where like you have these cards and they're like videos, maybe short videos in the cards or pictures or something that is just warm that like users can see and like, oh, you know what? Send actually simplifies people's lives this way, whether through like someone needs money for this, you're able to pay for this, or like you send money to a loved one or something like that. And we said, okay, you know, how can we represent this? And everything we had been thinking before now, I missed the screenshots, but like everything we've been thinking before now, it seemed a bit complex, where like there's a lot going on. Also, like I think prior to this section, there's been a couple of things going on. So we wanted this to also be as simple as possible. And I think the idea just came out, you know what, why can't we just represent it in a way where like you drag the token to the heart and it beats faster. So it was a thing where like so when the token leaves the center of the heart, it kind of like is beating slowly. And then when it comes to the center, it starts beating faster. So it was like okay, you know what, this is like a perfect representation of put your money where your heart is. And like we also just did it as it's a nice to have. So like if you go through the website and you don't discover this experience, like okay, it's calm. But you also, if you discover the experience, just like this is warm as well. So like it just beats faster, and then you can just play around with it. I think some what I call it takeaways from this project was like one of the primary things we needed to achieve, as much as it's a bold brand. So like as much as it's a bold brand, we also needed to achieve a very fine balance of like functionality, visual appeal, and interactivity, because it's a very thin line, and it's very possible to, as much as I'm trying to make something interactive or very bold, being bold and very expressive is a thin line, because it can come off a bit so as too much going on. So there were a couple of things we had to rethink even through the process, like because of how bold the identity, how bold the brand was. Things like things like the headings, for example, we need that the messaging has to be very concise, so it can't be too long because it's also very bold. You don't want to see a lot of bold text in your user's face and they are reading for like, it's kind of it can be very funny. It can be very funny to users, so you don't want that too bold for users. So like that was one of the things. So we had a couple of the messaging of the site had to be reworked to fit that tone. And then we also realized that people don't need to read so much to understand what your brand is about, or because people also make the mistake sometimes when you feel as if you have to read a lot to understand what this is about. But sometimes in like very short messaging, you're able to understand what this product is about or what this thing is about. I love Apple for that, by the way, too. So like I think I really love Apple for that. And then what we were also able to achieve with the brand was that the brand was clear. It also had its own unique identity. So now like anytime I see some things, even though I'm not thinking of Send, I'm also know that okay, this reminds me of Send. This is Send. So that was a good thing too. And then the last thing was that it was exciting when it went live because it's Jesus, man. We had been on it for a minute, so it was like man, thank God it's live because we had actually been on it for a minute. And it was also like a huge sigh of relief for us because it was like we've all been working on this thing or building this thing. And it was, when I mean like it was the entire thing, like the entire design products brand, everybody was on it for like a very long time. So it was like, and why I particularly liked it too is because you're thinking of something and someone is thinking about and that thing, and like you're just infusing your ideas, and it's like, okay, you know what? You try this one does not work. Someone thinks about something and it does not work. And then I also like the idea of collaboration too, because you're able to rely on people when you know that. I mean, you know what? I can't think too well about that. And that's something I love, man. I love when I can rely on people too. So like I was like, oh, you can't think about this, and someone comes up with something that's also like you're thinking about something, and the person like infuses with your idea, and you're like, you know what? This is even better than what I was thinking about. The person's like, oh, this is better than what I was thinking about. And you're like, okay, you know what? Let us represent it that way. So that's the story of Send. Now, Downfall Radio. This is also another project I love. Also, why I'm talking about this towards the end is also because, and it was a collaborative project between Yinka, Benny, and I. And it's in a very short description, it's an online radio and web gallery. What I'm talking about towards the end is because it's a bit cliche too, because it's like this is a good outro. So very random background story. So like Yinka calls me one day and he says, "Oh hey, KP, I have this idea in my head. I'm trying to do this music project, and I feel like we can build this thing together." And he's like, "Oh, I want to put a bit of just one music that loops on the website. It can be a street music, whatever, but something that represents Lagos. And I want to like put that on this website, something that represents Lagos, so someone can just come there and see like different images that feel like when you look at those images, you're like, okay, this reminds me of Lagos. So that's why Yinka had the idea of downfalls. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. But the good thing is that, like I always say, like collaborative projects are interesting because most times when you're thinking about an idea on your own, you can only think as much as you know. But like when you're working with other people, they're able to like take your idea and like also like, oh, yeah, we can also scale this thing. So before now, I love Pool Suite a lot. So I don't know if you guys also know Pool Suite. So Pool Suite is like this, it's this website where like you can go to listen to like old music. It doesn't relate to Nigerian culture in any way. It's like American culture, but like it's just like old music. So like when you're listening to Pool Suite, they have like this very retro. It's kind of like it has a retro vibe, and they have like a bunch of like stations. And you're just like, when you listen to Pool Suite, you're just thinking about it. I think the ideas like Malibu Beach come to your head. It's also very grainy. But like I really love Pool Suite. So a friend had told me about it, I think in 2018. So ever since he told me about Pool Suite, it was something I really love. So I don't go there frequently, but from time to time I'll just go there for like a different style of music and I'll listen to Pool Suite. So when he told me about it, I was like, oh, you know what? We can actually scale this idea. It doesn't have to be like one song just playing on a loop, because I feel like if it's a single song playing on a loop, people will get tired of it. Okay, I've listened to this, I've come to this website and I've listened to the same song playing over and over and over again. It's a one-time experience. So how can we make this a recurring experience for users? Also, by the way, Downfall really doesn't work anymore, but like, but I like to highlight it because I really love the project. So how can we make it nice for users? I was like, oh, you know what? I like Pool Suite. So why can't we make it very, very, instead of making it very static, very dynamic for users, where like you have a bunch of channels and then we update these channels every once in a while. So you can come next month and you're saying, oh, this new music. there's new music on this site, and like there are a bunch of channels. And Yinka was like, oh, you know what, that makes sense. So we started. He had done the initial design. Yinka had done it, and he shared it with me, and I was like, okay, you know what? Then we started doing some more things, like we were working on the about. So we fleshed out the design fully, and I went on to like start building it. And then we also struggled with the idea of what kind of music we also wanted to like put on the site initially. So he was like, just one looping music that represents Lagos, which is like Lagos is like Lagos and like the essence of Lagos. But that was just one music, and then this image is just being in a loop playing. And then I also come from a point where like I listen to a broad range of music, so I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe I also want to put my own taste of music on Downfall Radio as well. So initially, even when we launched, we had this bit of struggle where like, okay, who are we really appealing to and stuff? But like, I think eventually we just set on the fact that we wanted the experience to feel. I think the primary thing we wanted people to feel on the webs on Downfall Radio was nostalgia. So like, create nostalgic feelings through music. And I think when we landed on that, that kind of like that kind of helped us in like figuring out what kind of music to put. So when you go to when Downfall Radio was working, when you go there, it was like old music, early Afrobeats of 2000s, and even like Fuji and stuff. If you know Yinka, you know kind of Yinka loves music, so he used to like put a lot of Fuji music there. So like when he said nostalgic feeling through music, it's something I love because like I love old Afrobeats, man. I was listening to this old Afrobeat playlist that like a friend introduced me to last year, and like I've really been sprung on that playlist because like I just love. Maybe because I'm getting older, who knows, man? Because I don't think I've ever sat down to listen to those kind of old songs, and I'm like, you know, why am I like enjoying it so much, man? I'm turning to my dad, who knows, man? But yeah, so went ahead, we built Downfall Radio, and so went ahead, we built Downfall Radio, and I think one of the cool parts is that when we launched Downfall Radio, it was like it was a thing like it felt like okay, everybody was thinking about this. Is that thing people wanted, but they didn't know they wanted. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's like, oh, like I would get random DMs and like, oh man, like I really love this thing, or like just see random people tweet, or like sometimes people reach out to me that a friend told me this. I think the one that was very funny one time was that someone was having a conversation with a friend and doesn't even know about that. I was like, oh, telling the person, this is my friend, you check out Downfall Radio, that is really cool. And I was like, that is actually so crazy because the person is just telling me, and I'm like, that's so crazy because like this is something that Yinka and I did, and the person is telling my friend that, and the person doesn't know me directly. I'm like, I found this random place that you can listen to like cool old music. So it was really nice. The reception was good, and I think we kind of validated our idea with people when it launched too, because like we realized that people resonate with like music in the sense of like music and nostalgia, in the sense that like music has the ability to take you back in time, and I think sometimes it can be a very good feeling. So that was something that was really nice. And then the challenges we had, so refining the initial idea, so it wasn't a one-off. We were also using SoundCloud. So how the site works was that at the core of it, we are kind of like working with SoundCloud API. So, funny story, but SoundCloud had stopped. SoundCloud had kind of like stopped their APIs or developer access. So I found a funny way to get it to work. But like, yeah, so we're working with SoundCloud API. So we are at the point we eventually ran into the API issues with SoundCloud and changed some things, and they were not allowing like new people sign up. So like, which is kind of like why Downfall Radio is on hold now. We also struggled a bit initially with the music type, like I mentioned, but like we eventually figured out like direction for the music. I think the major highlight was the project had a nostalgic music feel, and my dad really loved it too, because I think at some point I shared him a link, and I didn't even know he was going to listen to it. I just shared it with him because Yinka had added this Fuji playlist or something, or like I can't remember. Like my dad liked it, and I went home one time and I just saw him listening to it, and I was like, it's not like we even talked about it. And it was not telling me that, oh, I like this thing. Yeah, I was like, you're telling me, like, but it was nice. It was nice, and then the reception was positive too. People related to it, so that was nice. And also, it felt, for me, it was also really nice because it felt good to build something centered around music, because I love music. So like, I was like, even till now, I still feel like if I'm to do anything or build anything that I want to like moving on, if I'm to start something, I always feel like it will be centered around music. So it was really nice for this. And then yeah, I think this is like what Down4Ready is about, just for the love of good old music and nostalgia. So that's that. I have one more project, although like I thought I was going to be very tired at this, so like I think I can talk about it. So this is the last project I'll probably highlight, and this is Happy Feet's book. There's not much I have to say here, but like so this is a website about a book. It's a very simple website, to be very honest, and the author was trying to like talk about a book that's about our kids and just talk about their journey, and then and talk about like the different challenges like through their journey. And so she had reached out and said, "Oh, I have this idea I want to do. I have this site and I want to do this and this and this." And I think when she reached out to me, I've always liked the idea of. Generally, I like the idea of like doing editorial design. I know this is not editorial design, but like I like editorial design and stuff. So I was like, okay, you know what? When she reached out, I was like, generally, I'm not really a big fan of freelancing. Also because sometimes people like really. I'm not just really a fan because of like your this thing can be high. Your expectations or like what you value can be so high, and like sometimes. Your client will still tell you that this is what I want, man. I want the background to be purple, and I want purple text and purple background. I'm like, how can they read now? But even though you try to defend why it should not be, they'll be like, you know what, I'm paying you for it, so why are you telling me I want purple on purple? I want my purple on purple. So like generally, I don't really like freelance projects, but for this, I particularly like this because I have like full creative freedom. So like when I get projects like this, sometimes I decide to like, I was like, okay, you know what? I had full creative freedom, and I was like, I think it was one of the projects where like we also worked on it. It was very close. The work on the project was very collaborative and very close. When I mean close, in the sense that we're talking about the idea and we're also refining on the fly. I don't think I've ever worked like that, where we are refining a couple of things that couldn't work out on the fly. So initially, I know she had a bunch of things. I know that I knew the site was going to be simple, so I was like, there has to be there has to be a way to elevate the experience, and I thought like at the very least, if it was going to be like simple is not bad, by the way. Simple is clean. Simple is clearly expresses what the site is about. Simple is simple is not bad. Just to see. So something that I think really elevated the experience of the site was the typography used. So like I think I'd come across different ones, and like I used to, for my typography inspiration, I go to typo a lot. So I was really researching like what kind of typography could I use that. And I think it's one of the major things on the website is that the typography just stands out. So I eventually figured out this typography. It's called OGG, but I really like it, which is used for the headings. And then just also reading through I think I was also intrigued by the project because I read the story. And I'm going through the story too as well. I wanted the story and the site to feel as one, you know, so it doesn't feel as if you're going there. It's a story about kids, and it's very soft. Everything is very soft. Everything is very calm. It's talking about like their challenges. It's also talking about like things they love, but talking about everything in a very calm tone. So like I felt like a way to express that will be through the use of like very, very soft tone colors. You know, something that feels very, very calm. Because you know, actually I think children also like bright colors, but like something that feels very calm and soft tone, and also like also the idea of like easing into each section. So that's why like I used a lot of like gradients. So like it feels as if rather than going from one sharp section to another sharp section, it just feels like you're easing into each of them. And another thing was the interactions too. So they had to be as subtle as possible because of like, I think part of the things when I discussed with the author was she wanted to feel very, 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 because it was also to mothers, because it was a book a lot of mothers would buy, and fathers as well, because like it talks about kids. So it was like something that feels very, you know, very, very soft, not sharp. So like even to the things like interactions, they had to be very subtle. And like I think the only point I ever even used the major interactions for were like in the heading review animation, where it felt like very, very, very calm as well. And then close to the end of the project, because of how close we worked on it, she was like, I think she mentioned something about like maybe something about piano and like how one of the kids loved piano or something close to that about the piano. And I was like, man, who better to talk to, man? I've made fading before, and I have like a really nice background piano music I bought many years ago. And I was like, I think you could work for the project, so I infused it here. Sadly, the sound is not playing, but it's really, if you've ever visited the website, it's a very calm piano background music just playing. And I also had to make the piano music also a bit low, not too sharp, so that you don't land on the website and just like, hey, you're like, who sees my laptop, man? So, so it's a bit of like, the music is very calm, and this, which is very funny because this was also like one of the first projects I worked on with someone where like, not like most times people always have feedback and stuff, but this was one of the first one. Like once we were working on it again, there was never a, it was just like once we were getting it once, and I was like, oh. And I think she really loved it. It was really nice. I really also loved it because like I love the idea of and the book she was making. So like I think it was a perfect mix of like me working closely with her on the project. And yes, so I go back to the previous slide that says thank you. So sorry, I can't slide. Okay, yeah, so thank you and love from Kolapo.